So thank you for joining me. I have my father, my wonderful father here. We tend to work with each other on church stuff, which is really awesome. So we don't really talk much about investing too often, but they are. My parents are getting into investing. They're taking steps towards doing different components of investing. And so I know that a number of you have already heard my story of investing, or you've heard of what I am currently doing, but a lot of this really stems from where we started, where my family line started, and I even think back to like my grandparents, which I'm not bringing them up here, but they said that like my grandma, she lived in one room with six other siblings, and she was very, very poor. And then when my grandma and my grandpa got together, they ended up, saying they didn't want that lifestyle, and so they ended up even starting a contracting business and having just success. But they ended up spending that money and really enjoying it and spending that time with family. But their journey was they wanted to improve their situation. The same way from that situation, my parents have had a journey, and so they've had a journey up to a certain point, and every one of us, we all have a journey. So I want to hear just you guys, I want you guys, to hear just my dad's perspective on his journey in investing, and maybe that'll encourage someone, or maybe it'll kind of give somebody an idea of, hey, maybe I've been there, maybe I can do something a little bit different. And so why don't you, just thinking of where to start, why don't you start like kind of at the beginning, like maybe
Sure.
being a young adult and sort of like, so go ahead.
So, for me, growing up, my family, they weren't investors, and that wasn't part of my mother also, and my father wasn't, but my mom came from very poor background. So they, just getting to the point where they could buy a house was a big deal. And so, they broke that barrier. But in terms of investing or even thinking along those lines, it was any extra money, we're going to go have fun, right? Do those kinds of things. So didn't really grow up with that. And then for myself, taking a career path of pastoring, it wasn't to make tons of money.
Ooh.
And you're rich in a different way. You're rich
That's
in
right.
helping people, and but we knew we also needed to take care of that other side, which is your finances and the practical side. So investing for us was a scary thing, just because we had seen some scary things with that. But we had seen that, okay, you can buy a house, you can get equity in a home. We saw that real estate always continually goes up, so we were like, we can do this. So it was a sacrifice, but we were able to get our first home, and then
And part of that, I think part of one aspect of that journey, because of me just being a little young buck at that time, is like you guys would be really careful, and this is an aspect of investing, is to not actually spend a lot of money. And that was like I would say a huge contributor, because even when you had talked to like a financial advisor, they were shocked at how well you could manage the resource that you had.
Yeah, they definitely saw that our budgeting was done well. But and our giving part of our budget was high. They were surprised, and they said, you could probably take that down a bit. But if we're going to err, we're going to err on being generous.
Yeah.
But
then God provided too. So
He does.
He gave you miraculous ways of getting stuff where things would just get dropped off, and without even having
and we
to
did
exchange
well
money.
in the real estate, because what we would do is we'd buy a house, fix it up, live in it for a few years, and then flip it. So we were able to make good money that way. And so that was good, and it got us to where, we could be mortgage free, which is a blessing. But now, looking at, okay, when Aaron started getting into investing, and because for us, we had a lot of horror stories of friends that had money that ventured out in investing. Some, they had someone manage that and then managed poorly, and they were devastated by it because it took a bad turn. And then ones that stepped out on their own because you could start to do that more, and they stepped out in huge risky situations. And so we were like, I don't think we're going to go down that road, like especially when you're getting to, I mean, we're close to 60, so it's like you don't have all this time to make that money back, so we're kind of like super cautious. And
I'm just thinking of back in the day, there really wasn't a lot of self-investors. And
No.
The self-investors that were out there were either really experienced, right? Or, they were, like you were saying, seeking those risky assets. So, I think that a lot of times when people hear, oh, I'm going to invest or I'm going to self-invest, it's kind of like these filters come on, right? Or at least these guards or checks kind of come on to kind of say, is this actually a safe way to invest, right? Yeah.
So we've been looking at it now, and we've done some baby steps toward it because we still don't have a huge amount of disposable income to put towards it. But I mean, every step matters and it's important. So, but being educated and understanding how the market works and how there are different options and higher risk and lower risk, and just that helps a lot in terms of starting to take steps.
Right. And like what risk is it better associated with which time frames and how you can actually gauge the levels of risks and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. So I think maybe in the next week's clip, we can talk a little bit more about just some perspectives on some of those things, maybe a little bit more about the education and that sort of stuff. So thanks for sharing I already know the whole story. I know a lot more than just that side of the story because I was there. I lived it all with you. But for those that are watching, I'm pretty sure people are appreciative of that as well too. So thanks for sharing.